Speak to us a bit. How does Voss describe God as the one and who gives retribution, who indeed punishes sin?
Well, we may be able to compress this one a little bit more than we did the first one, but he takes aim at Albrecht Ritschl, prominent liberal theologian of the 20th century, who argued this point that the punishment of sin is a secondary, even ancillary thing, utterly and entirely subordinated to securing the salvation for the righteous. So the positive end of salvation means just this, that if God is going to save the righteous, he's got to do something with the wicked. And what is that something with the wicked? Removing them from the scene in order that he might magnify his benevolence, magnify his love. And if you're thinking in Ritschlian and classical liberal categories, so that the kingdom of ethics and love might thrive and flourish in the world, something along those lines. But Voss comments that while Ritschl's position has a kernel of truth in it, of course God's dealing with the wicked always brings into view his love and covenant faithfulness toward his people. He says that that benevolence and that deliverance of the righteous cannot be the fundamental reason why God punishes sin. So Voss says that the mistake of Ritschl lies in taking the part for the whole. The part, which is the concern to deliver the righteous, is taken to be the whole of God's retribution against sin. You just, as a secondary, almost reflex reaction, you get rid of the wicked so that the righteous can be saved. But Voss is saying something really basic here, that there is ultimately, and this is so critical, there is a God-centered and not salvation-centered explanation for the punishment of sin. And I think what he means by that, Camden, is that the predominant concern for God judging sin is not a human one. It's not the deliverance of his people. That might sound good. It might make us feel good. It might make us think we're really important to God, which is the propensity of liberal theology, but that's not why God does it. The reason God does it is to manifest his own glory, his inherent righteousness as the creator and judge of all flesh. And so Amos and Isaiah, according to Voss, emphasize this theocentric understanding. And Camden, Amos 5:24 might be worth us reading, because Voss quotes it and then I think makes one of his more insightful comments in this section about what that teaching entails.
Just says Amos 5:24 says, "Let justice roll down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream."
Yeah, see, if you take a kind of Ritschlian or liberal view of this text, it's so easy to view that as some kind of future utopia where justice rolls down like waters, righteousness is a mighty stream in a beautiful utopian paradise of social justice. It could be taken that way. I'm not saying it is taken that way by all, but it could be. But Voss says that this text in context, especially in Amos, is not a demand for social justice, not a demand for the uprightness of Israel, even. He says the idea is rather, quote, the time for reasoning and expostulation has gone by. Nothing remains but divine judgment rushing down and sweeping away sinners. Page 252. Thus, this text is not to be used for the pursuit of a social utopia on earth. It is not a prophecy of a time of freedom from all earthly oppression for the people of God on earth prior to the second coming of Christ. It is rather an expression of judgment that comes from God and abolishes wickedness. And Voss says Amos is the preacher of justice and retribution par excellence, so that salvation is almost lost in Amos's viewpoint. Why? Because he sees so clearly That the righteousness of God and the judgment of sin is theocentric and retributive, not social, political, or even at this point concerned for the salvation of God's people. It's concerned for the unveiling of the glory of God and the upholding of his righteousness, his character against sin. That is something, Camden, that I think has been lost entirely in the liberal tradition Vos is interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect it is on something of a respirator in terms of many evangelical quarters in our 21st century context. It is often not understood in that profound theocentric and retributive sense, this righteousness and justice rolling down as waters and flowing forth as a mighty stream. But that's what Vos says is in view. And in the book of Amos, I believe we could say with confidence, it's incontestable.
Mm-hmm.